All right, welcome to another episode of Auto Dealer Live. I'm David Villa.
I'm Mikey Okendo.
We have two outstanding car guys on today's episode. I believe this is going to be one for the books. Get ready. Check it out. All right, so we have Brad Wise, Executive Manager, General Manager of Ferman Chevrolet Mazda here in the great state of Florida in Tampa. And we have Josh Potts, General Manager of Haik Chevrolet, also great state of Texas in Houston. And two big Chevy stores, guys that are moving the needle in sales. But we're going to talk about something a little bit different today, which, by the way, I think is a direct result of why they sell so many cars. We're going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about talent and really what they do at their stores. I think there's some similarities, but yet also some unique strategies that both of these gentlemen bring to their organizations. And so we're going to talk social media first. I want to go to Brad Wise, but we're not going to talk about marketing and advertising. We're going to talk about how, Brad, you use, I know you're an avid user of social media to attract new talent, and you've done this your entire time at Ferman. You know, talk a little bit about what you do and what it's done for your store and how it's helped you guys grow.
Sure, I'd be glad to. We were just talking about this the other day with our team about social media, and any leader that's not in social media is really doing themselves a disservice for the reasons I'm about to outline for you. So I would say maybe a dozen salespeople I've recruited through social media, and I'm talking about people who lived in other states, you know, from Seattle, New York, Delaware, New Jersey, all really top performers. And how the strategy behind it is, I guess, Facebook groups where anybody that's in a Facebook group that's dedicated to the industry that they're in tells me that they want to get better at their job, tells me that they're an engaged human being, that they are looking to aspire to be better at their job and engage with other people with the same kind of thinking, as opposed to somebody where their job is just a job. It's not something that's their life. I mean, David, you know, all the best car people, that's a lifestyle being in the car business, right? It isn't a job. So if you're a fisherman, I think Josh fishes, so, and you're trying to go after a certain species of fish, which would be the type of dynamic, moldable, good team member type of person, you can find those in those Facebook groups. So I'm posting on social media that Ferman Chevrolet in Tampa is the place to work. I'm doing that by talking about how there's no sales, there's no income tax, state income tax, that the weather, the beaches, the whole world's moving to here in Texas, and then everybody's flocking from Illinois, Michigan, New York, California, and they're moving to Florida. So not that it's propaganda, it's more selling the dream of working in Florida and then working at a store that really, really caters to talented people, because talented people want freedoms. Talented people don't like HR, and I need to find those people. And then when I get those people, we have to treat them like they're racehorses. You know, racehorses are treated, you know, making sure that that their housing is temperature is controlled, that there's no flies flying around them, that they're getting the best food, the best bedding. I mean, it's really that simple. But through social media, being able to find those people it's free. I mean, that's another amazing dynamic about the whole thing with social media. So if you're not on social media, you're not on there for one of two reasons. One, you're a flat earther, or B, you're on the run from someone. It just blows my mind why somebody wouldn't utilize that to be able to communicate with people that you're trying to communicate.
Love that. Now, Josh,
a flat earther, right? That's a first one.
He's got a point.
I'm going to steal that phrase.
That's awesome. Now, David, Josh,
before Josh, I want people to steal my information because I want to be served up with ads of things I'm interested in.
There you go.
Everybody needs to stop the paranoia about all this privacy information, you know?
Right.
That's right. You want to see what you want to see.
I agree.
Now, Josh, we want to give you a chance to respond to that as well, but I do want to tack on a couple of things because Brad said a few really good things there that I want to throw into the question. So same question, but then also two more things. One, recruiting. I know we've heard from several dealers recently specifically talking about recruiting is hard in general, but also very specifically certain types of talent. I know a lot of people are looking for service techs, for example. I don't know if it's the same with both of you, but so how are you appealing to that group of people as well as the sales and, fixed and variable ops, so to speak? How are you reaching both groups and making sure you're finding both groups of people? How are you experiencing success with each of those? And then also, I think I like what Brad said, right? He said you're supposed to treat a racehorse like a racehorse. They have to be treated differently from just your typical average horse, so to speak. I guess to continue with the analogy. So to what extent do you do that, right? Like what level of freedom should you give people, and Josh, go to you first. So how do you respond to that? To what extent do you give freedom, and then also how are you reaching out beyond salespeople as well when you're recruiting?
I guess, for me, I've only done this for a few years, really. And I had a guy that I really respect in the business. One day we're sitting there, we're talking about it. He's like, why don't you do social media? And, I guess I was a flat earther, whatever that is. But anyways, I was like, man, I said, man, I don't really care. And I don't want people in my business. And he said, man, you do so many amazing things and you have such an amazing dealership. He said, but no one knows. He said, you have to let the world know. And so I took the challenge and I decided, hey, I'm going to start doing it, and I'm going to start posting things consistently and letting the world know, like, hey, this is a great place and why it's a great place. And, from sales to service to anything, we try to make sure we recognize everybody's accomplishments, achievements, what they're doing, what's going on. So like, no matter what arena you're in, you're like, man, that place is doing great and it's got it going on. And like he said, it's not propaganda, because like, I don't post anything that's not real. Mm-hmm. Everything that I put out there is 100% the truth, and it's 100% how our dealership really is. And, one of the things that, I always say to people is that people are motivated by different things, right? High performers I always say there's three things. They're motivated by time, recognition, and money. And they're not all the same, and they don't all want the same thing. So like, we try to make sure we're not only posting on social media, but also explaining like how we recognize all those things, but also in the different ways we recognize them, whether we're letting people that are super high performers make their own schedules, or people that are super high performers, obviously we pay at the top of the market and we have special programs to make sure that people know that. But at the same time too, we make sure people know that like, if you're here and you're doing great things, you're going to be recognized for it as well. And like I said, time, recognition, and money, and that's kind of what it's all about. And once you start doing that and people start following you and reaching out to you and checking in, it starts with, you'll see it. You can almost watch a pattern. Someone will pop up on your page and friend request you. And just like anybody else, you'll check it out and see what they are, like, what do they do, where do they work. And if you see something you like, wherever, you'll start paying attention to that person's name, and they'll start liking things and they'll start commenting on things. And you can kind of likewise do the same back. And if it's someone that I'm watching and I'm like, I know that person and I think they're a star and I want them to come join the team, I start liking and following their stuff too. And then next thing you know, I look up one day and I got an instant message in Facebook or Instagram, and they're like, hey, I'd like to come talk to you about a job. And I'm like, got it. Right? He said I was fishing, right?
Yeah. Yes. There you go. You got a bite. So Brad, going back to you, Josh mentioned it a little bit here in his answer, but so once you've been able to recruit the talent to your store, how do you cultivate that talent and ensure you're able to bring the best out of them? I know, hands-on, hands-off approach. I know your answer to this, but I want our audience to hear it. And so talk about that a little bit.
Well, we're really managing talented people is you're in a servant role, you're in a humble role, you're in a background role, and you need to make sure that there's nothing missing, that there's nothing awkward. Because if you've got really talented people, it's like having just a absolute stunning, beautiful spouse. Other people want them too. You can't take that for granted that, they're going to stay forever. So you have to I mean, one characteristic that I've had my whole career, and I don't know where it came from, it's the fear of loss. I always feel like I'm missing something. If we're closing the 4th of July, I'm thinking, how many deals did we lose? Or I'm assuming this is a bad way. You could interpret this statement to be negative, but it's really not in the way that I apply it, is that I assume everything is going terribly until proven otherwise. Because a good manager is a checker. So what I'm doing is I'm checking on our people to make sure that there's nothing awkward or missing, that accounting isn't aggravating them, that there wasn't a split deal that didn't get resolved, that everybody's getting the amount of leads that we said that they were supposed to get, that their computers are fast, that there's air conditioning, all those kinds of things. A good manager isn't just sitting behind a desk looking at a doc all day. He's managing by walking around and looking into the hearts and minds of everyone, because I have a sixth sense. I can look somebody in the eye and tell you right now, there's something wrong with Hunter. Okay, I can just tell he's got a different vibration. And if the manager doesn't know why there's something wrong with them, then shame on them. They need to know, because they need to be that close with their people to know what could be awkward or missing. And then if there is something missing, you fix that, or you create, when opportunities, an easy deal comes your way, that you can distribute that, to somebody who might have deserved it, who may have been putting the effort in but not getting the results. So there's a lot of strategery surrounded around house deals or tickets or any opportunities. So it's a balancing act of it's, I guess, a better way to say it is it's not a democracy in any way, shape, or form. It's just like operating a sports franchise. You wouldn't have somebody playing center field in your Major League Baseball team just because they were a nice person or they've been with the organization a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's where I get a lot of pushback on that. But I came from a sports background, and we're trying to win the Super Bowl. And the only way you're going to do that is with great players. And that's the most, 80% of it is the great players, and the 20% of it is the culture and the coaching.
I got to say this, Brad, just real quick. YouTube might flag us because you happen to pick the name Hunter. I know that's in the news right now. You said there's something wrong with Hunter, but just so we understand, that's just a fictitious.
No, I just made that name up.
Okay, you just made the name up. So YouTube, if you're listening, he just made that name up. But also, I will say this, Brad. You might have thought of this, but this is the marketer in me with all the little buzzwords you said. You need to write a book. It needs to be called Wise Words. You heard it, right? That's a book for you right there. Wise,
he does have a
word. You need to write it.
He does have a podcast.
I have a podcast called Wise Up.
Yes. Wise Up. There you go. You need to write a book. Just wise words, like Bradisms.
The name works perfectly. It's too, you can't pass that up.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Now, Josh, your perspective too. So, I mean, hands-on, hands-off, cultivating talent, strategies. I mean, what's worked for you, and what do you do over at your store?
So I wouldn't say we're hands off. We're extreme accountability, head to toe, everywhere. I tell people when they come here and they first talk to me to work here, I tell them, I'm like, hey, look, there's the very, very, very highest performing people. And then there's the people that are one notch below that. And I'm like, if you're in this category, we're gonna expect things. We're gonna talk to you about things, but we're not gonna wear you out about it. And I said, but if you fall just below that top notch, I'm like, you just need to be prepared to be micromanaged if you're gonna work here, because we expect people to be to drive themselves, and if they're not, we're going to push them because we're pushers. That's what we do. Whether it's how many phone calls they make and emails they send, texts they do, videos they use, whatever it is, all the way to service, to multi-points, and we do mystery shops. I have a company I pay to do mystery shops constantly. We check everything, and just like he said, he has a sixth sense. I don't have that, right? I'm not good at that. So what I am good at though is the numbers, and I understand the numbers well. I'm great at math, and I follow all the numbers. And I was told once upon a time that you don't have to know everything to know where a problem's at. You just have to know what the numbers are supposed to say. And, and I follow the numbers very close. And in following those numbers, like he said, you can look at so-and-so, our Hunter, and say like, hey, something's not right. But like, I look at everything. I look at technician hours by week. compared to year over year? Are they going up? Are they going down? Then I can say logically, like, hey, I see a pattern here. What's going on with this person? Or if someone's below the cut, whether it's a salesperson or, like I said, a technician or even a service advisor, if their numbers and I'm tracking them constantly are going down, then I'm saying, hey, what's going on with that person? And sometimes you find something legitimate out, like, hey, someone's dad is sick, you know what I mean? And they're distracted, something's going on, having marriage problems, whatever. But at the same time, if someone's numbers are surging up, they're getting a visit from me, and it's going to be like, hey, bro, or hey there, man, like, what's going on? Like, how you doing that? You know, and they're gonna feel that vibe that I know it. And then when we have our big, like, recognition type moments, and I know someone's like really excelling and killing it in something, I'm gonna announce it for everyone to know and hear about. So,
good.
you know, I think it just kind of depends on, you know, what angle you take. But like I said, just recognition, making sure people know it. But I track everything, like literally everything you can think of. I track it, I watch it, and I just look for trends and patterns and see, like, hey, who's moving, who's not. And then, you know, taking that a step further, you know, most of our management team, our finance guys, all that, they all came from selling cars here. So, you know, that's another way that we're cultivating that talent. You know, we're helping them get to the next level. People know that. I've had 4 people that have worked for me here in my 7 years of being here that are now general managers somewhere else.
Oh, that's good. It kind of brings up a point on retention as well. I know both of you guys are big on this. I'll go to you first, Brad, and I want to get both your takes on this. You know, you've both put a heavy focus on recruiting, but not just recruiting, but also retention. I guess my question is, you know, regarding the culture of your store, do you find that putting that focus as well on retaining that talent creates a more desire for people to want to come work for you, Brad?
Well, that's an interesting topic, and I have a very unpopular view of retention. A lot of people pound their chest about having great retention, and in some cases, not all, that's a sign of complacency in the good old boy club, that they're not accountable, like Josh said, that they're willing to accept people that are selling 6 or 8 cars a month, or a service advisor that has poor CSI, because they associate more pain to replacing that person than the pleasure of finding someone who can sell 20 cars a month or have perfect CSI in the service drive. So when you're looking at retention, like Josh is a numbers guy, he knows that he's not going to look at some numbers and just make an immediate decision to take action. He's going to research the numbers and prove them right, because numbers lie sometimes, right? Yeah, like depending on what account things go into or what changed or whatever the case. But when just looking at retention, you have to ask yourself, well, why do these people leave? So we have our salespeople, we have 50 of them. They're all ranked from 1 to 50 as far as their value. Now, they don't know that. But now, if they're watching this, they know that.
Let me come to you and say, hey, bro, what number?
Yeah, where am I at? Am I 6?
You should just start calling them. Hey, number 49, come here.
Yeah, and then we break those down into A players, B players, and C players. And people are always moving around from A to B to C, and they move around based on the manager voting every Friday in the managers meeting. And every manager is in charge of 5 or 6 people only. So if they have A players on their team, they better not have anybody leave. If they leave, people quit. They quit the manager. They don't quit the store. They quit the manager.
Yeah.
So that's massive accountability on the manager, that A players better not leave. B players better not leave. But if C players are leaving for the right reasons, then that's okay. I mean, if people adapt to the environment that they're in, and if they're, you know, you can just tell by talking to Josh that they're very accountable there, that you either put up the numbers or you're out over there. Where a lot of stores, you could just hide and get away with doing nothing all the time. And that's where the store might have good retention. So in summary, if you have great retention, you better have great retention for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons.
Josh, let me go to you on retention.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. You know, it's, you know, I see lots of situations, you know, we have 18 dealerships in just our company alone. And, you know, you definitely see situations where people stick around, you know, whether it's, you know, they've been here a while. I like this person. They're nice. And I don't take great pride in showing someone the exit door. But unfortunately, the way that we try to think about things is that if you've never been to Haik Chevy, if you came here, the first thing most people say is, how do you guys do what you do at this place with this lot, with this building? It's not the biggest building in the world. Our used car building's not very big. Our lot is tiny. We only have, I think, maybe 300 cars on our lot total, new and used. We use a system of parking garages and GPS trackers, and parking here is a disaster. It's a nightmare. We have to have assigned parking spots for employees and boot their car if they park in the wrong spot. I mean, everything's tight. There's not really a lot of places to put things. So, like, the point in saying that is that we assign a value to every position here. And if you can't perform to the value of the position that you have, like I always say, it's not personal. Like, I'm not mad at you. I don't dislike you. You just can't stay. And that's just the way it is. There's a value to the position. I mean, I'm not going to keep techs here long term that aren't going to turn over 50 hours a week at least. I mean, that's just wasting space. We're going to make sure our stall efficiency, are all of our stalls together turning a certain amount of hours. And if they're not, where's the weak links? Same thing with my desk. We sell 300 used cars a month, but I've only got 17 desks. So you better come to play. If you're sitting over there when we're selling all these cars and you sell 10, it's like, man, I like you. You can't stay. Yeah. So, the retention has to have something to it. But then on the flip side is once someone's performing to the standards, then just like Brad said, man, love them. Man, love them. Make sure they know that you love them. Make sure they know that you care about them. And if something pops up one day and those numbers are going off track, man, call them in your office as the general manager. Don't just leave it on your managers. Call them in there, man. Hey, I know you. This ain't you. Are you okay? What's going on? And every time you ask somebody, just remember this: the first time you ask them, "You okay?" They're always going to say, "Yeah." And then you just got to wait a second and say, "Are you really okay?" And then typically they'll start spitting it out. But hold them accountable, push them, elevate them, lift them up, and then once they get there, man, love the hell out of them.
You know what I love about what both of you guys just said is, I know Josh, you said you're a data guy, but even with what Brad was saying, what I heard was, there's a quote I heard one time it said, creativity allows us to look at data and then question our initial assumptions about it and then experiment with it until we can make something useful out of it. And both of you guys, from what I'm hearing, is you're looking at what's happening at your store. You've got your thumb on the pulse, your finger on the pulse, so to speak, and you're looking at all this information and you're making sense of it in creative ways. And I think that's really cool because, Josh and Brad, you both have your own way of doing it, but it's working and you know what's going on and you know how to get people to perform. And I think that's really cool.
Well, and we're getting ready to wrap up here, but the number that everybody focuses on always, and then this is what they would see your stores and they look at how many cars you're selling, which, that's the number that everybody said, wow, Haik in Houston. I mean, they're, I know that you guys a few months ago were number 7 in the nation. I don't know what you are now, Josh, but, hey, Brad, you guys took the store from 350. You guys it might have done better than this, but you've hit 750 in a month. I mean, you grew the store, and they look at those numbers and then they see that number. But what I think everybody underestimates that the numbers and what you guys are talking about now, that's how you got to where you are. That's how you got to the number that everybody recognizes. So, with that being said, Brad, give us a couple of minutes, just some closing remarks, and maybe even do this. What about the store that already discounted this podcast because they sell 200 cars a month and they go, oh, that's Haik Chevy and Ferman Chevy. Those guys are huge. I can't relate to this. But you guys probably have always thought this way. You didn't just start recruiting at the numbers you're at now. So take a couple minutes, Brad, and just maybe try your best to address some closing remarks centered around that, and then we'll go to you, Josh.
I guess I think about the courage that it takes. When you're going through that, the naysayers, when you go into the status quo, and you want to make things happen, because I'm like a bull in a china closet. You get a lot of opposition. You get people that don't want to work, or you get people that don't want to operate under those conditions, and that's fine. But it does take a lot of courage, first of all, to do that. that this might not work out. But if you just sit back and continue the status quo, that's all you're going to get, because the car business is such a creative outlet. And somebody told me in a 20 group once that don't strive for perfection, because it's just not worth beating yourself up and driving yourself crazy. The key word is progress. So whatever the initiative is that you're trying to accomplish, whether it be whatever metric it is, analyze it each month. Are you getting closer to that or further from that? And I can tell you here at Ferman, in my 5 years here, and this is a tip of the cap to my team, is that we're a better dealership from the first day I started here to today. We've never gone backwards. We've added better people, better processes, better attitudes, better marketing, better displays, whatever it is. So, and the key, David, this is very important for everybody to understand, that the key to happiness is progress. When there's a lack of progress, that's when depression sets in. So we're really selling progress here at the dealership. That's what we're really trying to do in our meetings. We're trying to make people better people, because if they're better, happier, more fulfilled people, guess what? They're going to be better producers. And I can't just emphasize enough that try to strive for progress, not perfection, in whatever metric that you're trying to change, or metrics. Maybe there's more than one.
Yeah. And your closing remarks as well, Josh. And by the way, Brad, I like what you said too, because that also talks about how you're able to spread it across multiple departments, right? You focus on the people, making them better people. So I love that part of it. But Josh, your closing remarks.
Yes. So he said that they're, focusing on getting better, and I would say here, the focus is growth. It's grow or die. I believe that you're either growing or you're dying. And, one of the phrases that pops up in my head a lot, I think it's Zig Ziglar. He says that, I think the phrase goes that people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And so I guess coming in, for the people that sell 200 cars and say this doesn't apply to us, I just pulled it up. But the year before I started, Haik Chevy sold 4,418 cars in a year, new and used. Last year we sold just under 9,000. So,
wow.
I mean, you can come in and say like, hey, it won't happen. I remember being told we could never be number one in Houston. We were number one in the United States 2 months ago. We're seventh in the nation last year. We're fourth in the nation this year. I remember them saying we couldn't sell 200 used cars in a month. And we sold 300 almost every month last year, topped out at 389. I remember them saying we couldn't do $1 million in service. We've done it 3 times in the last 6 months. I remember them saying we couldn't do $2 million in fix. We've done that 2 months in a row. All the different things people say can't be done, they can be done. The first thing is you got to believe it yourself. And it's not that you have to sell everybody else on it that it can happen, but you have to believe it first, and then provide an environment where everyone is able to operate freely with accountability, but at the same time, man, where they feel like that, man, this place is fun. They feel loved. We have so many programs. I mean, we give away Rolexes, we give away money. We have Employee Appreciation Day every month. We give away over $10,000 every Employee Appreciation Day. I personally take every employee of the month to lunch every month.
Wow.
We have clubs for salespeople, 200 club, 300 club. They get certain holidays off a year that we're open that they want. They get an extra week of vacation. I give them special money allocations every January to use with the tailor that I know to make suits. We have a 300 club dinner. Everybody comes dressed to the nines, super fly, bougie restaurant, the whole bit. Bring your spouse. But it's like we go to war here, but then we try to think of ways to connect outside of here too. Like we've done paintball together. We've had little Vegas trips together, or Lake Charles at a casino. Our next adventure we're going to do is we're going to set up on a Saturday night late, and we're going to go do an escape room together. Just think of things like what do people want? Like what motivates people? What makes people happy? And again, understanding that there's layers to that. It's time, recognition, money, and you better have a program for all of those people if you want to appeal to all of them.
Gentlemen, thank you so much, man. I tell you what, I took a lot of notes here. Great stuff. I'm going to make my leadership team watch this podcast because I just say this? Any store, if you're listening right now, and owners, GMs that are listening right now, I mean, this is so valuable because you're talking about how these stores grew to the size they're at, not what they started doing once they were that size. So thank you so much for both being on. I know this is going to be a great episode, and I look forward to the feedback we get. Thanks so much. Whew. That was mic drop, fire hot, stinking, like my favorite episode so far because, listen, when I wrote notes down, and I can't wait to implement some of this stuff. What an awesome podcast.
I'm going to unscrew the mic and actually drop the real mic.
Yeah, our producer's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. Hey, so if you guys like that episode, you know what? That's just the beginning. Auto Dealer Live is back. If you want to be on it, we have some great shows coming up with some great guests. And if you'd like to be a guest, make sure you reach out to us as well. We'd love to find out what you're doing at your store. What do they got to do, Mikey?
That's right. Just between now and then, make sure you like, subscribe, click the bell so that way you get notified for every new episode. And until next time.
We'll see you then.